Time now for our Funding Our Future segment. And we're going to be chatting a new tax rule called the Look Back Rule. We're joined now by Timothy Flacke, Commonwealth's Executive Director and co-founder. Timothy, great to have you with us because, as I was mentioning to you in the break, I always need some of these new tax rules and codes to be explained to me and broken down. So what is this new Look Back Rule?
Yeah, I'm super happy to have a chance to talk about it. Maybe just to set the context, many of us think of tax time as a thing to avoid, we have to pay. But in fact, for tens of millions of Americans, it's a moment of a refund and a really, really important part of their financial year. But at the core of a lot of those refunds for working families are something called the Earned Income Tax Credit and sometimes the Child Tax Credit. And at the core of those credits is the requirement to have earned income. And of course, when we think about what happened to tens of millions of us last year, we really didn't have the chance to earn an income because the economy was shut down. So the concern that we saw coming into this tax season is that people who would normally be seeing very large refunds, by our calculations, could face 80% smaller refunds because they may not have had that earned income from last year. And so to your question, the look back is something that Congress included in the December 21st relief bill that says you can not just look at 2020's earned income, but also, if it's better for you, 2019's earned income. And so the effect is that as many as 20 million or more of us who rely on this earned income tax credit have a much better chance of having a credit at the level we're used to and refunds typical to what we're normally expecting this time of year.
So the main thing that concerned me when I heard about this is that in order to make use of this rule, it requires folks to make the correct steps in filing of their taxes. And as I've seen, for example, when the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was passed, was that a lot of folks don't go in and change their taxes because sometimes they don't know that they're supposed to be doing these things. I'm wondering if there's a concern that perhaps folks might not even know about this rule and might not make use of this ability to look back at 2019 taxes or income, I should say.
Absolutely, which is why we're really pleased to be able to talk about it. And in fact, we have a dedicated website, taxtimecrisis.org, that has the latest information on this look back. And to your point, if you get your taxes done by somebody professional or you use a professional software package, then the odds are good that that preparer or software package will guide you to the right answer. However, you need to bring the records from 2019 to be able to give that tax professional or that software package the right information. So it's really, really critical this year in particular to go find those 2019 tax records and take them with you to your tax appointment or use them when you sit down to do your tax, use the tax software. I know it can seem like a hassle. A lot of us have had a very disruptive 2020 and rummaging around in boxes to find tax records might not seem worth it. But for this year, there could be literally thousands of dollars at stake for some families. And the second thing we would say, please go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Timothy.
Just if you're preparing your own taxes, you're still one of those folks who go to the library and get the forms or otherwise, really do it old school all by yourself, then I just really want to emphasize to either go to taxtimecrisis.org or to the IRS website and look up this look back provision, look back rule, and make sure you find out if it applies to you because no one will be there to suggest it to you.
I want to ask the hugely glaring question, which is that this pandemic is not yet over. There are still millions of folks who have not been able to find another job after losing it throughout this pandemic, which means that for me, this look back rule is great for tax time this year. But what happens at tax time next year? What is the more permanent solution or fix to this problem?
Yeah, I really appreciate that question. I think the first thing to say is that if you do visit the website I listed, we are looking for folks who would like to raise their hand and say, we want to make sure Congress takes care of this same issue for next year. So we need people to testify really to the impact that this look back rule has had for them this year, so our policymaker friends in Washington take the same action next year. Now, looking out longer term than that, I think we now realize after 2020 that a system that really relies on the tax code and the tax filing process to put a big portion of working families' income into their pockets wasn't really designed for an event like 2020 when the economy closes down. And so we're just at the early stages of thinking about what does that mean for the future of the tax code. And I think we're already seeing signs that policymakers are beginning to think about that in, for example, the proposed stimulus bill from the Biden administration. So we see a lot of work ahead to try and make sure we have a tax code and a tax system that works even through really difficult events like the pandemic.
All right, Timothy Flacke, Executive Director and co-founder of Commonwealth. Thank you so much for breaking all of that down for us.